You know that saying, if your friends jumped off a bridge, would you do it? Well, my TikTok followers told me to go to the Amityville horror house where 6 people were murdered in 1974, and I did. Supposedly the house was renovated to not look like itself, but I think it's a pretty bad disguise.
This abandoned hospital in the middle of nowhere, Texas, hides a dark secret. Not only did somebody find a body in here a few years ago, but it's also part funeral home. And it's one of the spookiest places that I've been at in the state. Would you go at night?
I love everything. Fire spreading all around my room. My world's so bright, it's hard to breathe, but that's alright. Hush. I love everything.
This is one of the scariest places in the world. Press the follow button for a cookie. The Clown Motel is based in Nevada. It's being visited by a TikToker called Smithereens. He's worth checking out. This place is scattered with clowns, and making things worse, it's right next to a graveyard.
Most dangerous places in the world. Let's go. First, we have Lake Notorious in Tanzania. This place is so dangerous that all living creatures die when coming into contact with it. Up next are the crocodile farms in Thailand. Visitors float around on a dinky raft surrounded by hundreds of crocodiles. Don't fall in or you're dead. Last, we have Death Valley in Russia. The high amount of toxic gases makes it a death sentence for anyone who steps foot there. Most dangerous places in the world. Let's go. Up first is Death Road. Located in the Amazon, this road is on the edge of a cliff that's 2,000 feet tall and claims hundreds of deaths every year. Next is Snake Island. This island off of Brazil is so dangerous that the government made it illegal to go there. The entire island is infested with pit vipers which contain flesh-burning venom. Last, we have the Gates of Hell in Turkmenistan. Located in the middle of the desert, this natural gas crevice has been burning since 1971. Don't fall into Russia going straight to hell.
Really weird things found in the middle of the desert that'll absolutely blow your mind, part 2. This is this creepy lady chasing these 2 guys in the desert. They have no idea where she came from. They're hundreds of miles away from anybody. So scary. This is what looks like a prehistoric dinosaur, but I think it's a dragon. And then finally we have these really weird rocks that they think the Egyptians used for a calendar 2,500 years ago.
3 scary places. In London, Bethnal Green Tube Station, almost 200 people were killed in the station during the Second World War in the Blitz. Staff complain about hearing screaming and crying when the platforms are empty. The 10 Bells Spitalfields. Many of Jack the Ripper's victims were regulars at this pub and some were last seen here before they were murdered. And is still haunted today by the ghost of the mutilated Annie Chapman. Highgate Cemetery has over 53,000 graves, including those of Karl Marx, George Eliot and George Michael. There are stories of a Highgate vampire. Supposedly the spirit of a Romanian nobleman who practiced black magic still haunts the grounds.
Okay, so I got a good vacation spot for you. Have you ever been to hell? Well, you can. In 1971, the Soviets were drilling in the desert and accidentally punched into a massive underground fiery pocket. Fumes started leaking out at an alarming rate. They thought it was just leaking gas that caused the flames to keep growing stronger. They couldn't cover up the flames. They figured it might stop burning after a few years, once the gas goes out. Decades later, the fire is still burning strong and can't be stopped. This is believed to be the entranceway to a fiery afterlife. Would you be willing to explore?
Just outside of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, you can find an underwater city. Livermore, near Blairsville, was said to have flooded when a witch was executed and cursed the town. On the anniversary of her death in the 1800s, the town flooded, burying the structures and the people with it. The only area original to Livermore is this cemetery, but not in its original location. The graves were moved after the flood, and because of the disruption, it earned the haunted reputation. You can walk the trail next to the cemetery and catch a glimpse of the underwater town. I spoke with locals who have seen a full-body apparition of a soldier and another who claims to see a ghost train at midnight.
Part 1 of the heartbreaking story of Crybaby Bridge, located in Anderson, Indiana. Crybaby Bridge is a haunted bridge that you can go to in the middle of the night, preferably around midnight, and you will hear the agonizing cries and the blood-curdling screams of a newborn baby that has died and is underneath of the bridge. Now, there are two legends that go along with this in response to how this ghost baby ended up under the bridge. So the first legend goes that there was a horrible car crash where the baby was actually flung out of the back seat over the edge of the bridge and then landed on the embankment where it died immediately, and that's why its soul is stuck underneath of the bridge and why people are constantly able to hear this baby crying. The second story is a little bit more horrifying and sad, and it involves a teenage mother. Now, this teenage mother was unwed.
Unless you're morbid and adventurous and are willing to take a trip that you may lose your life on, I wouldn't recommend this. But if you're just that, then welcome. These are the top terrifying places you should never visit alone. Part 1. Poveglia, Italy. It's a place where you can find bones and skulls crashing into the shore with the waves, and even may find yourself getting your boat stuck in a pile of bones. This was a huge dumping spot for plague victims, and there was even a death of a mad scientist who got choked by a supernatural being. So it's pretty terrifying. Don't visit it alone. Dottie Park in Dottiesville, Belgium. This park was opened in the 1950s and was closed shortly thereafter when a child lost his arm in 2000. The vastness of this park is absolutely terrifying, and it's super silent and attracts ghost hunters from all over the world. But I wouldn't recommend they're going alone. Just saying. Willard Asylum in Willard, New York. This asylum was open around 1869 and started out with 4,000 patients, but ended up witnessing over 50,000 deaths, and only a few were caused by natural causes. Others could have been caused by doctors killing the patients.
These are amazing, terrifying, scary landmarks right here in the United States. Here we go. One of the first known serial killers in the United States was H.H. Holmes. He confessed to 27 killings but was said to have killed over 27 people. But here's the scary part. He bought a 3-story hotel and completely renovated the inside to be a maze of virtual impossible escapes. Known as the Murder Castle, this is the 2nd floor. He actually built this hotel knowing that it was next to the World's Fair to get easy victims. He would hire different construction workers to do different rooms, different parts of the time, so that they wouldn't catch on to him. He had doors in there that only opened to a brick wall. He had doors that only opened from the outside, and he even had suffocation rooms. He would also make his victims go into a safe that held a person, and he would lock the safe as they suffocated to death. He was apprehended in November of 1894 and sentenced to hanging. His last words were "The evil ones. Dan's my sponsor."
What's up? These are some of the most terrifying places on Earth, Part 3. First one on the list is going to be Suicide Forest in Japan. Although the woods may spark our adventure side, I wouldn't be too sure about this one. There have been over 200 suicide attempts here and roughly 105 bodies found. Signs at the front entrance even tell you to turn back and consult the cops if you're thinking about committing suicide. Golly. Next on our list is going to be Sedlec Ossuary in the Czech Republic. At first glance, you may not see anything out of the ordinary, but if you take a closer look, you'll notice that everything in the room is either made out of human skull or human bone. Just remember that when you're walking through and you're looking around and see a chandelier made out of someone's bones that lived before you. God, that's terrifying. Next on our list is going to be the Philadelphia State Penitentiary in Pennsylvania. Opened in 1829, this prison has been known to keep people in confinement for up to 23 hours in a day. Over 1,000 people have died here, and many inmates committed murder on one another. People say if you can get close enough to the walls, you can still hear the screeching sounds of people being tortured. That gives me chills, man. Last on our list is going to be Lizzie Borden's house in Massachusetts. Lizzie Borden committed a brutal murder on her mother and father using a hatchet, and people that visit the other day still say they can see bloodstains on the carpet and feel chills up and down their spine as they go to bed.
These are the world's most dangerous, most scary, terrifying places on Earth. Here we go. The Skeleton Coast is spread across the south of Angola. It's listed here as one of the most deadliest places on Earth. There is almost zero chance of survival here. There is hardly any food, hardly any water. Rainfall is very, very, very limited, so there's no fresh water. And also the high winds and the harsh weather make it almost impossible to live here. The very inland part of this area, the Bushmen call the land that the god made angry. Sailors once referred to this area as the gates of hell. The only thing that you're going to find on this island are the bones and remains of anybody and anything who has ever tried to cross its path. Please like, share, and comment, and if you want, join our YouTube, link in the bio.
What's up? These are some of the most terrifying places on Earth, Part 2. Alright, so first place on our list is going to be Ed Gein's home in Wisconsin. Ed Gein was a notorious serial killer back in the 40s and 50s who allegedly butchered his victims, cut off their skin, and used it for suits, masks, and even lampshade. The reason why this is so terrifying is because all the tools and utilities that he used to cut off their skin are still lying in the house today. That's terrifying. Alright, next place on our list is going to be Nagoro Village in Japan. Nagoro is a tiny village in Japan with 375 life-size dolls and 27 breathing humans. Just imagine you're in a random part of the world and you're living by yourself, but the only catch is you're living with 300 dolls that can't even talk to you. That's horrific. Alright, next place on our list is going to be the door to hell in Turkmenistan. It's a 235-foot wide crater that won't stop burning. Back in 1971, scientists were drilling a hole and it caused an explosion, creating this landmark. If you ever wonder what the gate to hell looks like, here's your shot. Last on our list is going to be Snake Island in Brazil. Snake Island is known as one of the most dangerous islands in the world. From falling out of trees to walking 5 feet and hitting a viper. If you're afraid of snakes just like I am, I suggest not going to this island, because it's terrifying.